Welcome, everyone, to our Sunday class. The topic today is how to make choices through our guidance, through our divine energy, rather than through our wounds. Um, I don't know if I even have to explain that, at least not to myself, because I've made a number of choices through my own wounds. Maybe you have too. The idea is that we live in our mind, we live in our left brain, and when opportunities come up or when crises come up, because the odd thing is I work with a lot of clients, and sometimes an opportunity is just as scary as a crisis. And we go to our decision-making process and we want to make a choice. We want to make a choice for our future, for our best self. And sometimes we get a little cloudy. We start to think, well, what is my best choice in this situation? And oddly enough, it can be the same problem if we're facing a crisis, a tragedy, or if we're facing a huge opportunity. I've had 3 clients this week who almost were finding that they were getting the dream of their life coming true right now. And they actually had a huge amount of anxiety. They didn't know how to handle it. They felt like they were an imposter self. They didn't know what to say yes to and what not to say yes to. So these are all situations where we tend to sort of start, I think the word is our monkey mind. We go into our hamster wheel and we just go around and around and we think, what is the best decision? Or what do I need to do going forward? If we get really stuck in our mind, we often go to places that we've gone to in the past, and they may seem comfortable, and I think most importantly, we feel we can control things through our mind. So when we make a decision, we want to be in total control. We want to be in our left brain. We want to think about everything, every possible thing that could happen, everything that could go wrong, everything that could go right. And we want to show up and make a really good decision for ourselves. This sounds easier than it really is because we have all these other voices coming into our head, which you also may be familiar with. I'm familiar with them. They could be our parents, our grandparents, our spouses, our teachers. They could be extremely negative messages from negative people that we knew in our life. They could be harmless messages that put us on the wrong track, like, why in the world are you going to be a writer? You should be a teacher. We have a lot of voices in our head, and then it becomes a question of where do we find the most authentic voice? Where do we find the voice that, shall we say, belongs to our higher self, our soul, the divine energy? If we believe in angels, if we believe in light beings, where is that channel to those angels that might be telling us what to do or correct our direction? Most of us are on the spiritual path, and many of us have already heard the voices of our angels or the voices of our higher self. Maybe we've gotten familiar with it, and maybe it comes in at certain times of our life, but then other times we're struggling to hear it. How do we find a reliable way to get to that higher voice? And most importantly, how do we get out of our emotions? Because our emotions, like I was saying with opportunity, can be just as confusing as emotions around tragedy. I think the most important thing to remember is we don't like to feel out of control. When we approach any situation, we want to go to the tried and true. We want to feel like we're in control. And I think this probably applies to everybody other than, the great wise people in the world, which is not me. We want to feel like we've got a grip on something. And so we often go to the place in our mind where we think we can control it. Well, the odd thing is that in order sometimes to get our best life, our best guidance, we have to go out of control. We have to go out of our comfort zone. We have to get in that place where we're actually stepping into change. We're stepping into something we're unfamiliar with. that can be a huge, huge positive for us, but it's really hard to get there. The main reason is because everything in us wants the familiar. And yet, if the familiar for any of us has been a difficult childhood, a bad relationship, suppressing ourself, um, giving into an abuser, there's so many different ways we normalize negative behavior. If that becomes our normal, and we were a child, we really didn't know how to deal with it, then as we get to be an adult, that feels safe, that feels comfortable, that feels normal. So without us even realizing it, we could be making choices where we do go into our comfort zone. If our brother beat us up all the time and our comfort zone was to go hide in the closet, and this is, of course, I'm joking here, but as an adult, we might be like, hey, let's put an armchair in the closet. I'm going to stay in the closet. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are an emotional self. And yet, when spirit comes in, when our angels come in, they're there to heal our emotional self. They're here to heal any wounds from the past. And they're there to put us on a different course where we may really step into our best self and our best life. I know, speaking for myself, talking about wounds, um, when I first went out with Jim, for example, I was ready to break up with him. Why was that? Well, I won't, bore you with my whole life, but I was accustomed to feeling safe not being in intimate relationships. Fortunately, he was a healer and we were friends for a long time. And I slowly began to realize I was going to be safe in a long-term relationship. It was only after about a couple of years that I thought, oh, what a coincidence. I know none of my relationships ever lasted more than 3 months. And I always broke up with the person and I never got married. So, but again, that's how wounds are because it felt so normal to me. It felt so safe. Do you know what I mean? So when Jim was like, yeah, we can live together and be happy, I was sort of like, really? That doesn't sound so good to me. Like, it doesn't feel very safe. So, as we confront our wounded self, as we move forward in our life, and especially as we try to really achieve our goals and achieve our life purpose, we may go into areas that don't feel that comfortable. The meditation I'm going to teach today is, first of all, looking at some of the fears that may be unconsciously holding us back. And then the second part of the meditation, I simply want us to connect with our higher self, our guidance, our angelic contingent that's with us, to sort of find the wisdom beyond our own mind, and hopefully to use that as a constant so that we can always find that channel to wisdom, always find that channel to divine energy, to our higher self. I think another really important thing to remember is that we do feel out of control when we follow guidance. So there's two things that we feel out of control in. We feel out of control, chaotic world events, with fear, with the unknown. We don't want to be out of control. At the same time, if the solution for that, if the solution for all that feeling of out of control is to then turn to our spiritual self and again be out of control, in other words, surrender, we aren't very happy with that. It doesn't feel right to try to solve one problem where we feel out of control and somebody says to us, oh yeah, the solution for that is to go over here where you're also going to feel out of control. I think people think of surrender. I mean, I certainly had some negative connotations with surrender. I thought it might be giving up on my dreams. I thought it might be doing things I didn't want to do. I thought it might be giving into some divine being or God that had a whole different idea for my life. It sounds weird, but I didn't really trust it. I I got right up to the edge of surrender and I thought, yeah, I don't know about that. But I think the real meaning of surrender is simply to let go of what you think you should do. It's sort of letting go of the way you would do it, let go of the way you would control things, and take a moment to just breathe, listen, and see if anybody else has a better idea almost. It's giving up that part of us that just wants to control everything. And I have to say, in my journey as a healer, working with other people, the more people can give up their need to control, even if it's very innocent, and just almost like wedge open a part of their being so that they can open up to chi, life force energy, chance, what could come in if we aren't so rigidly trying to control ourselves and our lives. That's the moment where our life can actually start taking off. That's the moment where the divine energy can come in, bring us opportunities we never thought about, bring us new situations, new people, a new way of being that we never considered. And even in the midst of a tragedy or a scary event, if we can just remain quiet and connect with divine energy, sometimes it can give us healing that we didn't expect, insight that we didn't expect, a way to reach out to another person that we weren't thinking about. So that's why in ourselves we want to have that balance between our mind that figures everything out and our soul that's always a couple of steps ahead of us, connecting with divine energy, and is really right there to guide us as much as we will allow it. So right now I want to get us started in a meditation. So get comfortable, get whatever you need for the meditation. I'm going to take us on a little journey. First of all, just to relax. Then I want us to really connect with some of our fears, some of our beliefs of how we have to do things. I want us to look at that and release it. And then I want to create a doorway to really connecting with our higher self, really connecting with our higher wisdom, where we can feel solid about it. So take a moment, get ready. We're going to start out with just simple deep breathing. If you need to get up, get something, just do it right now, because we're just going to be breathing for a moment. Why do we go right into breathing? Because as we try to take that journey from our left brain, our reality brain, into our right brain, our soul brain, our unconscious, we try to just stay completely focused in the present, and we really try to think of nothing. Now, if you're like me, you can never really think of nothing. But through breathing, through feeling energy, we can sort of go on a little trip where our mind really isn't that active. So let's start out with deep breathing. Take a deep breath in, breathe it out. Another deep breath in, breathe it out. When we breathe, we want to take that breath down through the chest, all the way down to the belly, all the way down our legs to our toes. Sometimes part of tension and anxiety is simply feeling like we can't get the breath below a certain point. So I want everybody to just focus in on the breathing now. See if you can pull it down as far as possible. And if you can't, we're just going to call in our guides and angels to help us relax, help us breathe, help us really connect with this beautiful divine energy today. This is a good opportunity as we breathe to feel into your body. So, what are you feeling today? Are you feeling aches and pains in certain areas of your body? Do you have a headache? Do you feel a little dizzy? Do you have a hangover? I don't know, I'm just joking here. Um, feel into your body. Sometimes as we get attuned to energy, we can even feel different places in our body that are blocked. If we've gone through some energy healing, we can feel that the blocks are now free and open, and we can breathe through them much better. Now let's pull the breath in as far as we can, and I want you to hold the breath just for a moment. So breathe deeply, hold the breath. Ah, just let it out. Let's do that again. Breathe in as far as we can. Just hold the breath in a moment of stillness. Ah, breathe it out. Let's do that one more time. Pull the breath way, way in. Just hold it. When you feel ready, just breathe out. Now I want you to roll your head on your neck. How do we do this exercise? It's very easy. Just roll your head around. We're just rolling our head around so we can relax. There may be some tension in your neck. There may be weird little kinks. Just roll right over them very gently. If there's any pain, just be very gentle. Now let's go the opposite direction. We're just rolling our head loose and limp, loose and limp. Just stretching out, just relaxing. Now we're going to be as tense as we possibly can be. We're going to raise our shoulders right up to the bottom of our ears. I want you to hold it just in a moment of tension there. Can you feel that tension? Now let your shoulders drop. Let's do that again. Just squeeze your shoulders up, higher, higher, tighter. Now let them drop. Now I want you to raise your hands, raise your arms. We're reaching for the ceiling. We have this huge stretch going from the base of our spine, up through our shoulders, up through our arms, our hands. And now I want you to go a little bit higher, stretch a little bit more. We feel that stretch all through our body. And now our hands will come down, but very slowly. It's like they're floating down. It's like they're trying to push through the snow, and you can't push through the snow because your hands are weightless. Your whole body is weightless. It's just floating. There's no weight anywhere in your body. If a breeze came along, it would just blow you sideways. You're just floating. You're just floating. Now, or if you're seated, I want you to make a big circle where you lean forward, you lean to the side, you lean to the back, and you lean to the side. We're sort of leaning, rotating through our hips, just loosening up our lower back. If you happen to be lying down, I just want you to put your energy on your hips and feel a rotation there. Just feel a movement. Just relax that whole lower back area. Now we're going the opposite direction. What we're doing is we're just stretching out our back. If there's any pain there, just do it very gently. We're just gently stretching the back. Just getting the energy to move up our spine a little bit. just going around and around. Now, let's sit up straight and simply be present in our body. We just were present and we could feel our body. Does it feel any different now? Now, with all of this feeling work, remember there's no right answers. I'm just asking you to see how you feel. There's no right way to feel. The whole idea is just to feel. It's just to put our attention and see how we feel. And with all of the exercises we do today, again, there's no right way to do it. We're just here on a little journey, like a ride in Disneyland. We're just going to feel it. So, right now, I want you to imagine a bright, bright light coming down through the top of your head. It's just rushing through your crown chakra, filling up your body, filling up your heart, rushing down your legs, rushing down your arms. We're calling it in the name of God, Creator, Great Spirit. This is our chi, it's our life force energy. It's always moving through our body, and we never really think about it. If you put your finger on your pulse, there's your chi, there's your life force energy. We don't even notice it. But now let's imagine this beautiful energy coming through us. We're calling in our guides, our angels, any light beings or beings of wisdom, avatars that we connect with that help us on our journey and help us to heal. We're calling them in now to help us heal ourselves, heal our body, and heal our spirit. So let's focus our energy right at our heart. You have a hard time thinking of light if you're not very visual. You might imagine this beautiful energy coming down like the water of a waterfall pouring down on your head. Or you might be standing up on a hill and the wind is just blowing through you. Maybe right now you can feel a little warmth in your heart area. And now I want you to imagine all this beautiful energy coming out of your heart and surrounding your whole body like a cloud. This is your energy field. We all have an energy field right outside of our chakras. It's there to protect us. When light hits it, it's our aura. We can actually feel this energy field. So I want you to put your attention on it. Sometimes we feel very vulnerable and the world is a little bit too much. So therefore our energy field could be very thin. Other times we feel really strong. Maybe our energy field is out 4 or 5 feet. So let's take a moment and see if you can feel it. Remember, in the course of our day, if you feel very vulnerable or you're going into a situation that's a little scary for you or nerve-wracking, you can always just be quiet, imagine the light coming into your body, however you imagine that, and then just imagine it fanning out all around you, almost like an impenetrable bubble, or you're in a pod, you're in a little container of light, a little balloon of light that nobody can get into. Especially since you're all in this class, you're probably all empaths. You're probably all psychic already, so you really feel energy. So I can't say enough about this one exercise of imagining light all around you. It can really protect you, and even more importantly, it can make you feel protected. And it is real. You can call in your guides and angels. You can imagine all the light around you. And then you can go about your day, even into any situation that is worrisome or difficult for you. And you're going to feel that little extra buffer zone, where you feel protected. Now I want you to go back into your heart now. Let's just go back in our heart. It might feel warm, it might feel comfortable. Our chi, our life force energy, is what runs our body. Our chi, our life force energy, is always increased through happiness, through joy, through comfort. Even just a feeling of security or a pleasant time, all those positive emotions increase our chi. Just the way negative emotions can drain our chi, negative people can drain our chi. As we get more and more aware of this, we can actually become very determined to keep our eye on the positive, keep that flow of positive chi in our heart, and really create a better barrier against negative people and negative events. It doesn't mean we're selfish or that we're in denial, but we're really following the ancient Chinese method of keeping our chi strong. It's like keeping a battery of a car charged. So I want you to think back over the last week or two. Think back to moments where you really felt happy, where you really felt some joy. Maybe it was a fleeting moment. Maybe it's been a worrisome week. But there must have been one moment where you saw a sunset, or you had a great conversation with a friend. You had a great cup of tea. Moments of joy don't have to be huge. They can be small, but they mount up as that beautiful energy in our heart. So let's take a moment and really think of those feelings. You see how one moment of joy or happiness, one afternoon of fun, can just anchor that really positive feeling in your heart. And that's really what makes us tick. We don't ever have to be ashamed or feeling selfish if we choose happiness, because it's literally what makes us healthy. It's literally what makes us a strong person that can help others. So now I want to do a little exercise of giving ourselves a little bit more positive energy. Put your hands out in front of your heart and just imagine there's a ball of energy in your hands, a ball of light. However is easiest for you to imagine that. If it's hard for you to visualize anything, put your palms together and feel the warmth in your hands. Feel the energy in your pulse. You have energy. We are energy. For those of you that might feel energy between your hands, you might feel a little friction. If you're visual, you might see colors. Let's take a moment and see what that feels like. As we feel this energy, it might get bigger or smaller. It might be warm or cold. It might get larger. What does it feel like? We say to ourselves, dearest God, Creator, I accept this gift of love that you're giving me today. So we're accepting this energy. We're expecting that anything that comes from Creator is love, is light, and we're going to accept it. Now, since you said that to yourself, does this energy in your hand feel any different? And I'm not saying it has to, but I'm just asking you to feel. Did it get any bigger or smaller? Is it a different color? I want you to put it right in your heart. Can you feel that energy come into your heart? So again, to yourself, you say, I receive it in my heart and in my life. You see, with chi, with life force energy, we always want to be open to receiving, because as we receive energy, we also receive money. We receive friendship. We are opening ourselves to a channel to receive positive things. Now let's do that again. Your hands are out in front of you. There's another ball of energy in your hands. Why don't you feel it this time and see if it feels any different? Can you sense any warmth there? Any colors, any feelings? Because energy has feelings too. Now, this energy in our hands today is a gift from the universe to you, specifically you today. So, what could it be? Well, maybe it's the answer to a certain question. Maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it's a change in a relationship. Maybe it's a gift of some kind, or maybe the gift is simply wisdom, patience, happiness. So now I want you to focus on this energy in your hands. Does it have a message for you? What is it? Now we say to ourselves, dearest God, Creator, Great Spirit, I accept this gift that you have for me today. Now let's take a look at the energy one more time. Did it change any? Is there a different message, a different color, a different feeling? I want you to put it right into your heart. You're now receiving this gift. If you have a hard time visualizing and a hard time imagining this, just know that energetically speaking, you're receiving a gift, even if you didn't really know what it was. It's the highest level of positive energy you can receive. And we say to ourselves, I receive it in my heart and in my life. Now let's just feel into our body. Did you notice as we were working with energy, you might not have been thinking too much. You might have been more feeling. And that's the place we go to when we want wisdom. We want to go into that place, whatever you want to call it, light, divine wisdom, connection with our guides, our higher self. But that's the place where we can really often get wisdom. That's our supercomputer. Our mind, our left brain often comes up with solutions that are very logical. Our right brain, our supercomputer, can make jumps in intuition. It can make jumps in prophecy, in psychic awareness, in understanding people, understanding situations that we don't even put into words. That's why sometimes it's a much better guide in our life. And our main job is just to get there. So as we go into the next part of the meditation, I want you to think about a decision that you've been trying to make. It can be an old decision of something you've been wondering about. It can be something tomorrow. I want you to choose something where you have felt a little troubled by it, or it can be a bigger thing like, should I move, or should I do this, should I do that? Wherever you feel you've had a little bit of negative input, or you really don't know what to do. So let's take something like that. Now, don't take something from the past that you've already resolved. We want something in your life today that you're still kind of wondering about, because I want to guide you through how our mind would work around making a decision. So let's close our eyes and think about what we would like to ask our guides, what we would like to ask our angels. It can be as big as a life path, or it can be as small as something about a relationship. But I want you to include something where you have had a little bit of inner conflict. So I want you to feel into your heart now. Just feel warmth, feel connected to your body. And from your heart, we're just going to take a little ride up to your third eye. But now we're inside of your third eye. It's like we're sitting down in a movie theater and your third eye is a screen, like a movie screen. And from here, we're able to really witness what's been going on in your mind. So I want you to take a couple of deep breaths. And we're calling in your guides, your angels, your higher self, all the divine wisdom and divine energy that is around you. And we're asking for their help in showing you any negative beliefs, um, beliefs from other people, wounds, anything from childhood or even from a bad relationship where you got a negative belief. We're going to try to dissolve that. So as we're sitting here looking at the big screen, I want you to think about the question, the decision that's facing you. Now, I want you to think about the biggest obstacle you think you have to this decision, the biggest negative belief that you've got. If you're simply afraid, just say to yourself, I'm afraid, or I don't know what to do. But let's imagine some words that are going across the screen, kind of like scrolling or ticker tape. What would those words be? I don't feel worthy. I feel confused. I feel inadequate. I don't know if I can trust this person. You know more than I do. What are you dealing with in this decision? And what is your biggest fear or your biggest hesitation? And think about that in words coming to life. Now let's take a moment as we see these words coming up on the screen. They make us feel uncomfortable because they're going to be limiting words, fearful words, words where we think, oh, I'd better do this because I can't really do what I want. Now, I want you to take a minute and just think about where those words came from. Did they come from you? If you put light on those words, are you getting a certain person from your childhood or your life? Is it something that somebody else said to you? Is it a belief that you somehow got through a certain experience? Let's put some light on it. Let's call in your guides and angels and say, where did I get this fear? Where did I get this limitation? Did somebody tell you you couldn't do something, or you were too stupid, or you couldn't achieve something? Or did they put a lot of fear in you to make you think that nobody could do something this way? What are those words, and where do you remember them from? As you look at those limiting words or those limiting beliefs, where do you feel it in your body? Is that where you feel anxiety in your heart, or do you feel a tense feeling in your stomach? What do those words make you feel? Now, do those negative words have any place in your head? No, they don't. We don't want to hold on to anything negative. So I want you to imagine that those words are being pushed out of your head. It's as if the words are pushed off the movie screen and just pushed right out of your head. Maybe they're like little cars of a railway train that are just filing out of your head now. Can you see that? If you have a hard time visualizing, can you just say to your angels, I want to let go of that negative belief. Please take it from me now. Now those words have been shoved out of your head, but now they're looming over you. They're like as tall as lampposts. They're 20 feet tall. They're shadowing you. You've been in the shadow of those negative words, maybe a good part of your life. Take a look up at those words and just feel them. You might feel small or scared or intimidated. You might really believe them. But now the sun's coming out. Imagine this bright sunshine hitting these very tall letters and these very tall words that are a barrier in front of you. And now the sun is melting these words, melting these letters, these huge tall letters that have intimidated you all your life. They're melting, melting, melting. It's getting warmer and warmer. It's like they're just melting like popsicles. And these very intimidating words are just slowly disappearing right in front of you. We're calling in your guides and your angels to show you that this negativity was always an illusion. Now the letters have melted so far down, and the golden light is just rushing past your feet. They've all melted down. So those words, those beliefs are out of your head. And now they're no longer a barrier in front of you. They've just completely vanished. They've melted. They don't exist. They always were an illusion. Now I want you to step back into your third eye. In front of you now is just blinding light. All those negative beliefs, those negative words are gone. Go back to your seat in the movie theater. Look up at the screen. And now you have an angel walking out in front of the screen. Your guide, maybe it's a beloved person that has passed, whoever you consider to be your guide. Now I want you to ask them a question. Feel the energy of all this positive light and just ask them, what should I do about this situation? Feel the light around you, feel the light in your head. Let's just spend a moment and see what comes through. You have moments of doubt, just the thing to put your mind on is the light pouring in, and keep your attention on the angel. Don't try to formulate an answer. Don't try to get lost in words. Just stay silent, stay peaceful, keep your mind on the light, and just see if anything comes in. You have a question that you want to ask your angel about this decision. Now's the moment to ask it. Just formulate it in your head and just be patient and wait. See the light, see your angel, and see if anything comes in. Do you have a worry about this situation? If so, why don't you voice that worry to your angel, to your higher self, and again, wait in silence and see if an answer comes through. You have a question about your life path, the larger picture, your life's purpose. Now's the moment to ask your angel. Again, just stay still and see what comes up. Now remember, your angel is standing in front of a screen, a movie screen. If you are visual, or if you've seen some pictures come up about your future or about the solution to this problem, don't be afraid to look on the screen too. There may be pictures coming up or ideas. Just stay aware. Now we thank your angels for any information or insight that you received, any guidance. If you feel you did not receive guidance, we're going to ask your angels, your higher self, the divine beings, to come when you're asleep. We give them permission to come when you're asleep and give you visions in your dreams, give you insights and ideas, and tap you on the shoulder during the day too, to always make their ideas known and their presence known to you so you can open up a much clearer channel to your guidance. We're giving their permission to do that now. We're holding on to all the inspiration, the images, the prophecy, the guidance that we just got, and we're putting them in our heart. We're going down from our third eye back into our heart. Our whole heart feels warm now. We thank our guides and angels for their wisdom, and we ask to continue to be open to it, to show us that path of light through our daily life. Feel that warmth spread out from your heart all through your body right now. Your whole body feels warm. It all feels tingly. It all feels alive. We're slowly coming back to the room now. Breathe, stretch. When you feel ready, just open your eyes. We're going to take a 10-minute break now. If you want to write down anything that you've experienced or just get a cup of tea, we'll be back at 10 minutes after the hour for Jim's meditations and prayers. So take a moment, take a breath, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed the meditation and Abby's teaching. And I just wanted to, let me see here. I'm just moving people around so I can look into the camera versus not looking at you all. Anyway, for those that don't know me, my name is Jim McCarthy, and I've been teaching spiritually, like basically mysticism and energy type healing stuff for about 15 years or so. And I've been teaching with Abby for about 6 years, maybe, yeah, around 6 years. Anyway, but we teach classes on Zoom and also in person. But anyway, my like tendency for to working with people spiritually is to clear away what's not their true essence. Because people are, in this world, we're always trying to get something or become better or prove that we're good enough and things of that nature. And the truth of the matter is, we already have everything, but we have perceptions and we have memories and we have other people's judgments and opinions that really block us from having clarity of who we are and what we're on earth to do. And so, like yesterday, we were outlining a class in Virginia that we're going to be doing. And I just sat down with my guides and I just started writing down some things. And it's really, at least what I was focusing on was it's really all about right now clearing any kind of debris that's blocking you from your connection to light or source energy. And the stronger that connection gets for you, the more you'll automatically know what to do without having to take thought. The more you'll automatically know the right choice for yourself. And the more you're going to live by a grace to where things naturally unfold in your life, to where you're not having to be the doer, you're co-creating, you're not trying to push it. Okay. And I notice when I work with people, a lot of what I work on is clearing the emotional stuff of people trying to push things from a place of resistance, from a place of defense, right? Like in a relationship, for example, if we've been taught that we're not lovable or we're not good enough to be loved, then we're always going to be trying to prove that we are. And we will tend to attract people that don't have the ability to love us the way we are. So we're always going to be in a place of fear, trying to be something we think they want us to be in order to get love and approval. Okay. And that's kind of what this class is about. It's about how do we clear that away so that we can be free from it, right? It doesn't matter if the other person loves or approves of us. What matters is that we've healed the wound in ourselves that's blocking us from knowing that we're made of love, that we are lovable, even if people aren't in agreement with us, right? In this world, people are going to love you when you meet all their expectations. And that's kind of the ego 101. And in our last class, we were talking about how to rise above that in order to be in a consciousness that's always loving, right? That's always accepting, that's always of truth. Okay, so when I was kind of looking at this class, the first thing that my guides asked was, what is an emotional wound, right? Because when we talk about this class, it's about, how do we get to the place of making our choices through our higher selves, through our essence, versus through our wounds? Okay, because going back to, if we don't feel we're lovable, we're automatically in fear, and we're automatically going to be compromising, making our choice based on what we want, to making the choice what we think other people will want so that we could be loved or accepted or feel like we're good enough, right? And so the first step in clearing this is to become aware of it, right? If we just deny it and we are unconscious of it, it can happen for 50 years. And unless we do something about it, it never changes, right? And that meditation that Abby just did with you all is really the way to change it. It's like we have to bring it to light. We have to bring our wounds into a light because our wounds can't heal themselves. They need to be brought into a higher frequency. And that frequency, our essence, let's call it, knows the truth about ourselves and what's not true. And it knows how to transform something and heal it to where it becomes the truth. And when that happens, we no longer have a wound, right? So, you know, the lesson is how do we go about doing that for ourselves instead of being in defense or reactivity and keep making decisions out of fear or out of anger or out of resentment, right? Those are all defending yourself or defending that false self that you believe is yourself. Does that make sense? Okay. So, you know, the whole thing that when I check into like what is our work on this planet, what I always get is it's to bring people to the light and bring the light to people because that's the only healing force there is, right? And that's each one of us have that within ourselves. And the only thing that blocks it is when we're identifying with something other than our true self, right? So we have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Because when we have wounds that come up, things that we believe about ourselves that aren't true, we have to be able to be present with it. Otherwise, it never transforms, right? If we're running from it, if we try to make choices or do things in life so it goes away, that doesn't heal it. It just resuppresses it. Does that make sense? Okay, so let me get back to my notes here. So the first thing I was asked was, what is an emotional wound? Where does it come from? How do we avoid them? And how do we heal them? Okay, those are pretty good questions. And, you know, when like I was working with someone the other day, and I noticed that a lot of that person, their day-to-day activities was trying to prove that they were smart enough, trying to prove that they were good enough, really to be loved and to be recognized. And so I just asked the person, I said, who's the side that needs to be loved, right? Or that needs to prove that she's good enough? And she had an image of being in like third grade or something and being told she wasn't good enough, she wasn't smart enough. And she believed it. Okay. And so we all have had that experience, right? To where we're told, we have this dream that we come into this world to live in. And we're told, no, you can't live that dream. Well, why not? Well, no, that's not that you don't have the resources to do that, right? And we give up on it. Okay. We just kind of let it go. Or it happens enough times, like people say, well, you're not good enough to do that. And you're not smart enough to do that. And, each time it kind of whittles away a little bit at our dream until eventually we start to believe it. And then we start being upset with ourselves or disliking ourselves because we believe we're not good enough. Okay. Reality is none of that is truth, right? None of it is truth. But we won't know that until we clear it. Okay. Once it's in us, once we accept something, we have to clear it. And once we clear it, we have clarity again. We can see things as they are. Okay. So if anybody ever tells you you're not good enough to do something or you're not worthy of being in a loving relationship, right? You got to know that that's not God's will for you. Okay. But how do we heal that if we've already taken it in, right? Once you've drank the poison, how do you get it out of yourself, right? And the way you do that is you just ask the light to pull it out of you. Okay. There comes a time in life where we we cleanse spiritually, and by cleansing spiritually, all we have to do is surrender and allow it to come out. Okay. We don't have to do anything. We just have to ask and be open. Ask and be open. Okay. And sometimes that takes a while to come out. Okay. But sometimes it's lifetimes of it went in. Okay. It's like one morning I woke up and I had this fear, this uncomfortableness in my body. And I, normally, right, in the past, I would start trying to do something to where I didn't have to feel that. And nowadays I go, oh, there's something going on in there. I'm going to check it out because I want to know what it is. Okay. And one thing that I like to teach people is, coming from being an empath. Yes,
On the recording.
it is on.
Oh, no, sorry.
I think it's on. Yeah. Abby was reminding me to turn on the recording. Anyway, but most people, when they feel uncomfortable, they run from it. Okay. And as we become more sensitive to energy, we have more and more trouble just being with something that feels unpleasant. Okay. And the reality is it's like, if you're pounding nails with a hammer, right? And you accidentally hit your thumb, it hurts. And you go, ow, that hurts. Okay. And then you pay attention to it. You pay attention to your thumb. You make sure it doesn't need any medical attention. If it needs a Band-Aid or to be cleaned, you clean it, and then you forget about it. But the pain makes you pay attention to it. Okay. And when you're healing yourself, when you're healing your mental self, right, you got to realize that the mind and the body kind of go together, right? What's going on in the mind, we feel in the body. even if we're not super conscious of what's going on in the mind, because there's so many thoughts every second of the day. Okay. But with the mental stuff and the mind body connection, when we feel something unpleasant, we like try to distract ourselves from it and we try to run from it, or we try to do something in the outside world to make it go away. And we think, like let's say we're afraid of lack. Well, I'm going to go get some money somehow, and then I won't have to have this fear anymore. Okay, so we go out and we try to get money, and we think by doing that, we're going to heal the fear. And we don't. We might get some money temporarily, but then we worry about losing the money, or we worry about this, or we worry about that. And the reality is, we're not a finite being. We're not meant to be separate from our supply, right? But if we don't heal that wound in us about being afraid of lack, we'll never be able to manifest abundance. And abundance means that supply keeps coming by grace. It's not something that's yours or mine. It's something that just keeps coming as you need it for whatever your role is in life. Okay. But if we're afraid, we block that. If we have that fear of lack, we block that. Right. Um, so it's important to learn how to be with the what is inside yourself. If you feel something scary, don't judge yourself from it, and don't try to distract yourself from it. Just call in your guides and angels and ask to be able to see what it's all about, help you understand it. Okay? With understanding comes healing. And what happens is, like in my life, whenever I prayed for understanding about something, like I remember I work with the Divine Mother a lot, and she said, "Pray to me for understanding." And I was like, huh, right? Well, when I don't understand something, I contemplate it, right? Contemplating means just asking yourself, asking the light within you what it means, okay? So I contemplated it and I was like, what's that mean? Pray for understanding, right? And like Abby said in her meditation, one of the things I do at night is I bring things, I'll bring a question like that. I'll bring a question like that to myself right before I go to sleep. So my mind's not busy and it's open all night long to heal in my dreams, or sometimes my guides wake me up in the middle of the night and they'll give me the answer to the question. But so I asked myself before I went to sleep, it's like, what's this mean? Pray for understanding. And I did that for about 3 nights. And what happened was real magical. I realized somehow in those 3 days that understanding meant my perceptions would be corrected, right? And with correct perceptions comes correct guidance. And with correct perceptions, automatically the emotional charge goes away, right? Because in light, there's nothing that causes pain. Like when you connect to light, a lot of the times when I work with people, when we connect to light, they say, I feel peaceful. Automatically, peace comes over them. Well, if light's made of peace, it's not made of fear, it's not made of anger, it's not made of hate, it's not made of resentment. So if we're feeling these things, we know that we're not super connected. Okay. And we also know that we're not in our essence. We're not in alignment with our essence. Okay. So the way we get back in alignment with our essence is we just ask for the light to come in and heal it. Like in that last meditation we were doing with Abby, I don't know how many other people, but I went along with the meditation, and there was something I was contemplating a choice that I have to make. Okay. And it was like, I know what I want to do, right? But there's a part of me that's like, well, should I do it or not? Okay. So you just bring all this into the light and you just say, okay, well, this is what I truly want to do. You always speak your truth. This is what I want. And I don't want it because I'm afraid. I just want it because I want it. Okay. And is there anything truly blocking it in terms of God's will for me? Right? Because we want to align ourselves with the will of light. If we align ourselves with the will of light, we have all of its resources backing us, right? It's like you got wind in your sails, right? I remember when I studied mysticism, it was like God will never have you do something without supplying every means that you need to get it done. Okay. So in business, if we take light into business, right? And we say, okay, God, help with this business. Bring your light to the business. Bring your consciousness, your wisdom, your guidance, your protection, and your ideas to this business and help me understand what you want to do through this business. If you do that, it might completely revive the business and reconstruct it. But when it's done, when it gets remodeled, it's going to have grace operating it because now it's in alignment with your soul's will. Okay. That's the recipe for grace. I was reading about in the comments, someone said in there that it's hard, it's uncomfortable in the unknown, like it's uncomfortable not knowing. Okay. And I remember those days where, you felt like you were treading water and couldn't hold on to anything and everything was uncertain. Okay. And that's really an emotional charge, right? That's when we have some perceptions going on to where we don't know if we can trust God or not, or if we don't know if we can, if we're going to get hurt or whatever. And you want to clear that. That's what you want to clear. If that's your truth, you want to take that, you want to offer that to the divine. You want to offer that into the light and ask the light to heal it for you. You can't do it from that fear, you can't heal yourself. Okay? Fear doesn't heal itself, it just creates more fear. Okay? Right? So you want to just offer that to the light and ask the light to pull it out of you and heal and transform it. Okay? And that might take 100 times. But what'll happen is as it happens, one day you'll realize I don't have that anymore in me. It's not there. And I actually like not knowing what's going to happen because it kind of brings more joy to my life, right? But in the midst of that, you're going to heal a lot of fears that you might have had that weren't your essence, that you didn't need, but needed to be healed. Okay. So like I was telling you the other day, I woke up, I was telling you about 15 minutes ago that I woke up and I felt fear in my body. And instead of running from it, I just said, oh, this is interesting. I wonder where it's coming from. Okay. And I sat with it and I felt nervousness. Okay. And so I felt the nervousness and I asked, is there a message in this? And it was like there was a fear of being attacked. Okay. So I was like, okay, this is what I feel. Where's it coming from? And then I saw past lives of my own where I was a leader. And if I did what people wanted me to do, they liked me. If I didn't, they always were trying to attack me. Okay. And I realized that in order to be a leader, you have to clear that fear. You can't have it. If you really want to lead people, you can't be leading because you're afraid of their reaction. You have to lead based on being in alignment with light and truth and doing what you're guided to do because it's the right thing to do, not because people are going to like you for it or hate you for it. Okay. So that's a part of clearing that we do as we evolve consciously so we can step into our power because there's no power in being afraid of what other people think of you. Okay. And it really blocks your guidance, that back to that Virginia thing that we're doing, it's at least what I was taught was it's all about teaching people tools they can use to keep improving their guidance and their connection to light to where there's not many obstacles left, right? It's like nothing stops you from, in the end, making the right choice and having the right thoughts, right? And that's really like back to Abby's meditation. when I was in it, it was like, okay, do I choose A or B? And the truth of the matter is, I had to be honest with myself and say, I don't know what the best choice is for me. Okay. And then you ask for help and you get it. Right. It's like, a lot of times my guides will tell me, if you don't understand something, contemplate it. Okay. Instead of reacting to it. Like if you're afraid because you don't understand something, or if you're afraid you're going to make a wrong decision, or you are making a decision because you don't believe you deserve any better, start to be aware of those things. And anything that's limiting, start to bring it into the light and ask the light to heal it in you because it knows how to do it. You don't have to worry about it. Does that make sense? Okay. It knows, it knows that you're powerful. I worked with someone a few weeks ago and I was writing them an email. And one of the things the guides told me to tell them was to let go of the need for other people's love, approval, and acceptance. Okay. And while I was writing the email, they told me that, human beings don't think they're powerful, but they're made in the image and likeness of God, and their words mean something. The thoughts they hold on to mean something. And so if you're holding on to negativity, negative thoughts or negative words or negative perceptions, you're also creating that whether you like it or not. Okay. So when you find yourself holding on to something that is limiting or feels constrictive in you, just let that be a decision point to where it's time to call it into the light and heal it. Right. And you don't need to know more about that. It just means, I offer this to you. Please heal it. Please correct it. Right. And it will get healed and corrected over time. Sometimes it happens instantly. Sometimes it takes a few times, but, whenever I work with someone, it's like if they're in an abusive relationship, what I'm working on is healing all of the perceptions that were casted onto them that made them believe they deserve that. Okay. And as that gets healed, they automatically start to be able to speak their truth and respect themselves. And they also have their self-esteem goes up, their self-worth goes up. But it can't go up when they've been beat down by everybody else's opinions. Okay. So it's like, it's a really easy process to do, but we got to learn how to do it. So I think what we need to do is, I think I'll just go into meditation and we'll start doing it. All right. It's easier than talking about it. All right. So, but the bottom line is what I want you guys to learn in this meditation is that there's an all-knowing consciousness within you that knows how to heal anything. And the other thing is, it will never judge you, hurt you, or punish you. It only wants to lift things out of you that are causing you pain. Okay? And you don't need to know the details on it. The more you can be present with with emotional charges, when you find something that's making you want to change something in the outside world because you're uncomfortable and you're trying to change that so you don't have to feel bad, do yourself a favor first and be curious as to what you're feeling and ask yourself, like when I sit with an emotional charge, I'll sit with it and I'll just go into my body and find out what am I feeling? I'll try to identify like what's the emotional imprint here. Okay. And it's usually some offshoot of fear or something. Could be fear, could be anger, could be this, could be that. And then I'll just say, is there a message with this? What else is there with it that I need to be aware of? And I might see some childhood experiences where I was told that I was bad, or that I wasn't good enough, or that I wasn't smart enough, or something like that. And I won't do anything about that. I'll just witness it. Okay. And then I'll ask the divine to gently pull it out of me and correct it. Okay. and I let go. Okay. And sometimes I'll do that before I go to sleep. I'll let go. And what I realize is by doing that, somehow it magically transforms. Okay. I use the metaphor that, we've all been in the kitchen cooking something like bacon or fish or something to where it really stunk up the kitchen and it smelled kind of like, ugh, like this is unpleasant to be in. Okay. Or we've walked into a hotel room where the energy's been real bad and you can feel it. Okay. And it's like, I don't like the way this feels. Okay. And so all we have to do is open the window, right? In the kitchen metaphor, it's like if you open the window and you let the fresh air in, magically that natural air, that fresh air knows how to transmute that smell and clear it. And you don't have to know the details of it. It's the same thing with emotions. When you bring light to emotions and you offer the emotion to the light, and you also offer your thoughts associated with the and memories associated with the emotion to the light. You don't even have to know the details of them, but you have to offer it because if you don't offer it, the light can't take it from you against your will. Okay? If you have a perception that causes anger and you're holding that perception, the light can't take away your anger because you're not giving it permission. You're saying, no, this was wrong. Okay. That's why forgiveness is so important, right? But as you let it go, naturally your thoughts start to change, your emotions start to change. The relationships in your life might even change, right? If you've been in conflict with someone for years, when you let go of all of the stuff inside you that it brings up, that relationship will either shift. I was working with a lady one time recently, actually, who married a bully and she was in fear her whole life. And so we cleared the fear and he changed drastically, magically, to where he started being very compassionate with her and very loving with her and took care of her. And it was like, wow, how does that work? I don't know, but I know it works. I've done it enough times. So anyway, let's do some clearing, okay? All right. So what I want you to do is just take a deep breath. And just be present and feel whatever's going on in your body right now. Just feel it without the need to do anything about it. And what I want you to realize is that feelings can't hurt you. It's just energy. And I also want you to start to become aware that you are not your feelings. You're witnessing them, you're feeling them, but you're not your feelings. And you're not even your body, your spirit, your consciousness. And this consciousness can connect to its high true self, or it can live in the mind. What I want you to do now is I want you to connect to your highest self. Call in the divine light. Call in your guides and angels. Some people like the Holy Spirit. Whatever phrase you have, God, that represents to you a consciousness that's pure love, that's all-knowing, and that only wants to heal and protect you. And the other thing, one of its other characteristics is not only is it all-knowing, but it doesn't lie. It's all truthful. It knows the truth in any situation. And it can transform anything that's misperceived into something that's true. And I want you to call in that light, that consciousness. And some of you will feel a warm energy come in. Some will see light. Some might have a warm, tingling sensation. But what you're really connecting to is your higher self, your soul. And just give that permission to come in and fill you with light. And to bless you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially with what you need right now for your highest good. And now just be still and allow it to happen. Okay. And I want you to think about a decision that you've been contemplating to where you truly don't know what's best for you or what to do. And usually when we're contemplating a decision, we have at least one choice to make between at least two different things. And what I want you to do is look at the choice that you really, truly want. And I want you to tell this light that this is what I truly want. But I also want you to make sure that it's something that you truly want, not to avoid something. And in other words, you're not making the decision to get this so you don't have to feel afraid. You're making the decision because it's something that is meaningful for you to do, something you really want to experience. And I want you to offer that to the divine. And ask the divine to clear any thoughts, perceptions, memories, or any other obstacles that are blocking you from being able to do what you truly want. Now just give the divine permission to help you understand your highest self's will, and align this with your highest self's will so that you're doing what you truly want and what God wants for you. And ask the light to go before you and remove any places that are crooked or obstacles that would block you from creating this with light's help. If there's any part of you that doesn't feel worthy, or you were told you weren't worthy of doing this, of doing what you dream to do, ask the divine and your angels and guides to remove any doubt that's been put on you, any perceptions that have been put on you throughout all time that block you in believing and having faith in yourself. And just let go of any memories where you believed or accepted someone else's limitations or their judgments that limited you. Ask the divine to heal and correct all those memories and all those choices and all those perceptions. And now I want you to ask your guides and angels and the light to light up your path and help you to create the life that's truly meaningful for you, that's truly purposeful for you, and to help you let go of anything that's blocking that. Help you to let go and transform anything that's blocking that. Completely and totally with God's help. And from this day forward, I want you to follow your dreams and to live your dreams. But I want you to do it in a way to where you have the help of the divine and your guides each and every step of the way. Give them permission to heal your thoughts, to heal your perceptions, to light up your path and help you to make the best choices for your highest good. And when you're making choices about things, start paying attention to where when you think about your choices, does your choice feel expansive to you? Does it expand your body? Does it feel like there's energy with the choice? Or does it feel contracting and depleting? And if it feels contractive and depleting, then you got to sit with that and find out, why is it I want to make this choice then? And what do I need to heal so I make a better choice? But again, those feelings are information. It's not a good or a bad thing. It just is information. And if you can start to, when you make choices, pay attention to where if you're making a choice based on fear or contraction or some other kind of negativity, you don't want to make choices while you're in that. You want to clear that. And the way you clear that is you offer that energy to the divine. You offer the thoughts associated with the divine, and you ask for it to be healed and transformed. And you want guidance and help for you to make a healthy choice for yourself, a choice that puts you back in your power, in your love, in your joy. Okay? And then give it some time and allow it. Don't force it. Okay? And don't let anyone else try to force you to make a choice based on fear. Okay, just step away, clear your fear, and then make it. Once you clear something, you'll naturally get guidance on what's best for you. Okay, so don't try to make the choice when you're contracted. Offer that contraction to the divine and ask it to clear it from you. And it will heal it. And then just allow things to unfold, and you'll naturally have right guidance. You'll naturally have right intuition. Okay? But that's what they call putting God first, right? You put light first, and when you walk into that light, it's already corrected a bunch of the stuff. All you need to do now is be open and pay attention. Okay? But it naturally protects, it naturally starts to transform, and it naturally helps you make the decision for your highest good. Okay? So let's go back into this connection with the light. And I want you to look at the choice that you really want. And I want you to surround that choice with a ball of light. And I want you to accept that in your heart and claim it as yours. And I want you to feel as if you already have it. Feel as if it's done. And then I want you to embrace that feeling. And one more thing I want to do while we're sitting in this light is just give your guides and angels permission to lead your way and light up your path and help you make decisions that are best for you and help you let go of anything that no longer serves you. Ask them to help you to form a much stronger relationship with the light within you and to work with that light to make decisions, to face challenges, and to heal your thoughts and perceptions and your memories. Ask it to lead you to the people that can help you, that can bless you, that can heal you. And ask it to lead the people to you that you can help, that you can bless, and that you can heal. We're all meant to work together, but let the relationships come from the light. because the light will always bring you people that are good for you and healthy for you, and that can help you with whatever you need at the present moment. So one of the lessons I received from the Divine Mother was, when you're facing your work or you're facing your challenges, call me in to help. Because if you do it just with your mind, you might get into trouble. And a lot of people come to Abby and I to increase their guidance. And the number one rule of increasing guidance is to connect to the light. Because in the light is the truth, is all of this all-knowingness. And when we connect to it, we automatically start to receive the guidance from it. We automatically start to know things that we wouldn't know otherwise. And it automatically starts healing us from the moment we're connected. So again, focus on your guides, focus on your angels, focus on the light within you. And allow it to expand itself in you. Allow it to guide you. Allow it to protect you. Allow us to be your friend. And ask it to help you to trust it more fully and open to it more fully. Now, while you have this connection so strong, I want you to think of something in your life that you need help with, where you felt stuck. And I want you to take that and I want you to offer it to this light. And I want you to ask the light to heal this and transform it and help you understand it. And to clear everything out of it that's not of light. Ask it to heal and correct any thoughts or perceptions that are active in you that are creating this in your life. Just give it permission. Ask it to heal and correct any memories or other people's perceptions that are creating this in your life. and to bring about a complete healing and transformation and understanding for you. And give the divine and your guides and angels to work on this each night while you're sleeping until it's completely healed and transformed. And just let go of any expectations that you hold of how it should be healed or transformed or what time frame it's going to take. And just allow the grace to do it as it sees fit. Just trust in it. This is what it means to let the light lead the way. Just be open and let it do the healing. Now, each night before you go to sleep, just re-offer this to the divine and ask, just give it permission to work on it all night while you sleep. And go to sleep. You don't have to think about it. Actually, that's why you're doing it before you go to sleep, so you don't think about it. And watch what happens. When you feel complete, again, focus on the light. Focus on that feeling of expansion, of warmth. And just thank it for its help. And when you're ready, you can just open your eyes. I'm going to add Abby to the spotlight, and then you guys can either share or ask any questions. Check comments. Anybody have any questions about that or comments or anything to share? Anybody feel the energy of the light come in today? How did it feel? Oh wait, did it feel warm? Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing is when you feel that, you're connected to an all-powerful, all-knowing energy, your higher consciousness that knows way more than you could ever comprehend as a human being and can do way more things than you could ever do with your mind. So work with it, right? And it seems to really miracles start to happen. And you don't, you know, it's like my experience has been like, as I just clear things like we were clearing, I realized that a few weeks later, I think about what I was clearing, and there's no charge left for it. And not only that, I see it differently. I see it in a way to where it doesn't bother me, and I understand it. And with that is healing. But it's not something I did by thinking. I did it by letting go and allowing it. And that's what you want to learn to practice is let go and allow, let go and allow. But it takes trust and to consciously want to have a relationship with that light within you that is your resource, right? It beats your heart. I mean, and you don't have to think about that. And it's breathing you, and you don't have to think about that. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, Abby, did I mute you? Sorry.
Hi, everybody. That was a very powerful meditation, Jim. Thank you. I felt very healed.
Well, um, Alex said if I could read one book on that topic, what would it be? And I don't I don't know what it would be, to tell you the truth. I've read a lot of books, and it's really one book that comes to mind. It's called Healed Your Miracle Awaits, and that's by Sarah O'Mara, who is a 91-year-old healer out of Scottsdale who was healed by the Holy Spirit of like stage 4 cancer. And she's a really profound person at increasing people's faith in God and the trust of them. Okay. Another book that I like is Questions. I think it's called Questions and Answers by Mother Mara, who is a avatar, and she brings like the divine female love to the world. And her whole mission is to bring us back into feeling love and joy. And there's a few books about her where people ask questions and she answers them. And when you hear the truth, it shifts you. And those are like real, easy things. You read a page here, a page there. And it's one of those books you always go to the right page that you need. Okay. But there's good guidance in it too. Um,
It looks like Melissa is suggesting a book called The Untethered Soul. So thank you, Melissa.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I studied a lot of Joel Goldsmith's books, who was a mystic. And I also studied Bruno Grunin, who also was a mystic. And Course of Miracles has a lot of stuff in it. But, it's really, that takes you so far. But where it takes you is to where you start asking your guides and angels to teach you from within yourself on an ongoing basis, right? And it's like Abby and I were talking about this morning. We were talking about guidance again, and like when Abby got her guidance, it wasn't something she learned out of a book. It's something that happened. It just got triggered.
Yeah.
And so you want to ask for that, right? Like one of the things I say on a regular basis is, to the divine, please lead me, guide me, direct me, and protect me each and every second of the day. And I get guidance. It works, right? It's like ask and you should receive, right? But eventually, it's you want to take spirituality and bridge it into your normal everyday life. It's where when you do something, you call your guides and angels in and say, "Be with me through this task and help me, guide me." Right? I used to run a multi-million-dollar company, and I'd hire someone. Like someone would come in for an interview, and my guides would tell me whether to hire or not before they even said a word. And sometimes they say, don't hire them. And I'd say, why not? And they'd say, ask this question. And I'd ask that question, and it would reveal the reason why you shouldn't hire them. Right. but they knew everything about them already, right? The guides know everything. So start to tap into that. And just the way you tap into it is you just ask, right? And you have to ask without expectation. And the other thing that blocks guidance is if you have a strong attachment, like not so much just desire for something, but it has to be a certain way, you block any other possibilities. And if the guides aren't in alignment with that, you block the guidance, right? Or if there's strong aversion where you're super afraid and you can't be with whatever it is, you might block the guidance because you can't be present is a good word to say. You can't be present. But, just, you know, outside of books, just start to talk to your guides more often. And even if you don't know who they are, they'll show up.
One question Natalia has is what is the second book, Jim? And I think the second book you mentioned was Mother Mira. And Mother Mira, Meera,
Let
is
me
an
find
yeah, she's an avatar that um is a healer. She's from India, but she lives in Germany, and she has a live stream, I think, every day where she just sits in meditation. But she's
uh,
very, very powerful.
can you see that?
Mother
Okay.
Mira.
Yeah.
And you can find her on the internet. You'll find her live stream, and then you'll find her books. And
Yeah. And
go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna go on to what Pat says.
Okay.
Pat says, do you have any suggestions for techniques that help to quiet the mind and allow one to focus on the meditation and allow in our guides? I tend to struggle with endlessly intrusive thoughts. I think that's something we all deal with. It's not
Yeah.
just you, Pat. I think for me, one thing I try to do is I deliberately try to get into my body. So I try to take a walk or go swimming or listen to music or do something that really kind of bounces me out of my mind. Because sometimes meditation, I'll admit it, just doesn't do it. If I'm cooking or if I'm driving, sometimes I can relax to the point where I'm not thinking so much. Well, how would you answer that, Jim?
Well, one thing that I do and I focus on a lot is if my mind's really busy, I'll just kind of like give it some attention. Like, what is it you're trying to say? Right? But the key is witness what's going on in your mind. Don't be your mind. Okay. And the other thing is, as you start to witness the mind, it starts to lose its power because, the way the mind gets us is that we start identifying that we are the mind. Like when that voice says, I'm not good enough. Okay. All of a sudden we're in defense and we don't even know why. Right. But as you start to see the thought, I'm not good enough, and you realize that that's just a thought, and you can just let that thought float into the light, right? That's what starts to heal it. You start to disconnect from it. And as you start to disconnect from it, you start to be more at peace, right? I mean, what hooks us into the mind is we're identifying with it, right? So one of the things that I do that really clears things quickly is if my mind's busy, I'll first check in to see what emotional components with it, and I'll just call on my guides and angels, and I'll just offer the emotion to the divine, and all of the thoughts, and all of the memories, and all of the judgments, and everything else. And when the light comes in, it's going to clear anything that's not light. That's what it does, right? But you have to offer it. So as you offer it out, it'll clear it. And then pretty soon your mind will be quiet all on its own because you cleared whatever was coming out, right? And that's really, that's a really effective way to get to where you're not in your mind. Because most people, they get into the mind and the thoughts race, and then they start defending themselves or trying to make things different in defense of their thoughts, right? Instead of just realizing, oh, is that thought true, right? You've heard of Byron Katie, right? she's always challenging people's thoughts. Is that thought true? Right? Once you don't believe the thought's true, it won't bother you anymore. But just by being present with something and making friends with it without being in defense of it and not being reactive to it, it loses its power over you. Right? And that's another thing with Mother Mara, you know, one of the things she teaches is do japa. And japa just means that you repeatedly say like a word of like a holy person. So like if you believe in Jesus, you might say Jesus. If it's the Holy Spirit, you just say Holy Spirit. If it's the Divine Mother, you say Divine Mother, but you just repeatedly say it. And what you're doing is you're calling in that consciousness. Okay. And when you call in that consciousness, it automatically comes in, but it nullifies anything that's operating at a lower frequency. Okay, so one of the ways you can stay at peace and your mind quiet is just to focus on something like that, like, just do japa or whatever, but it gets you out of it. When you first start doing it, you might notice that your mind really engages you and tries to disrupt you, but you just feel that and you go back into it again, right? But like Abby said, if you go cook or do something you enjoy that you have to be present with, that'll do it as well. I remember when I used to ski, I'd go skiing and I loved it. And I realized why I loved it was I had to be present. You got to focus on what you're doing, or you run into a tree or something. But, if you find something that makes you stay in the present, that'll help too.
And Natalia says, I have a hard time staying present during the meditation. I fall asleep in the seating position. I don't remember anything that came during meditation because I was sort of asleep. So I used to teach, and Jim used to teach classes, in person before COVID. That's why we sort of went to Zoom. And I don't know if it was because I was boring or what, but I noticed a lot of people would fall asleep when I led a meditation. But what I began to realize is that some people get into that. Let's just say that when I lead a meditation, I'm trying to get everybody into that frequency of light, that frequency of energy. So when people are go there into that frequency, it invites your angels and guides to come in and heal you. Sometimes people get knocked out for that. And I began to realize it was kind of a thing where people would get knocked out and they'd sort of come alive after the meditation. But I think it allows them to do some deep healing in that vibration and also to really connect with that vibration. So I've come to see it as like a positive. So if you guys are all asleep, hey, it was positive.
Yeah, and a lot of times your healing has to happen on a different level of consciousness, on a different realm. And so like when we're doing healing and we're doing light work, we're just holding this energy. It's also working on things that we're not even aware of. And it might be a past life that you're being healed of. And that happens in the ether. So you might feel here and there, right? I call it here, there, right? But a lot of times people will like when we do live events, people will fall asleep and they'll get a lot of healings even though they were asleep because the light's constantly working with them. And what I've noticed over time is that, some of our most valuable healing time is when we sleep, if we learn how to utilize it, right? Just to offer things like if I have something that I don't understand, I'll just contemplate it. I'll say, hey, I don't understand this. Help me understand this. And then I'll go to sleep. I won't think about it because why would I think about it when I don't understand it? I just go to sleep. And within a few days, all of a sudden I'll think about it and I'll understand it. I'll see it differently. And always with understanding comes peace. I know that for a fact. So if you're emotional about something, pray for understanding. Because with understanding, it means it's going to correct your perceptions and it's going to heal the situation. Does that make sense? So don't rely on your little mind. You're connected to light and it's got infinite wisdom and it knows the truth from the non-truth and it knows how to heal anything. Here's another good book. There's a book called The Art of Spiritual Peacemaking, and it's by a guy named James Timon. And it's kind of like a Course in Miracles book where it was a channeled book, and he said it was channeled Jesus in there. And you do like a lesson a day. And I remember one time I was reading the lesson, and it's written first person Jesus, right? So he says, can you start to perceive that if you're suffering, it's because you're misperceiving something? And that resonated as truth for me. So I said, yes. And he says, if you can perceive that, then can you also perceive that from where I am, I've already healed that perception of myself, and I can heal it in you? And I was like, yeah, right. I mean, it made logical sense. He said, then give it to me and I'll heal it. Right. I mean, I'm not saying it word for word because it was years ago I read the book, but that's the truth, right? We all have this infinite intelligence inside of us. And when we offer a problem to it, it wants to help us heal it. It doesn't want to say, hey, suffer some more. It wants you to heal. It wants you to feel love in your life. It wants you to feel joy in your life. It wants you to have a productive, meaningful life, not one of fear, right? But we have to just kind of like, when someone in your life is trying to bring you into fear, you want to recognize that that's not what I want, and then you bring light to it and the light will sort it out, right? But don't just deny it and start trying to defend. Find out, okay, like in abusive relationships, a lot of times when people go into it, it's like, okay, well, there's a part of me that feels I deserve this. Heal that in me. Okay. And as that heals, the relationship either heals or dissolves, right? But sometimes while it's dissolving, another fear comes up that, will anyone ever love me? Okay. Then that needs to heal. And what happens is you end up attracting someone who treats you kindly, right? If the person you're with isn't willing to do that, you'll attract someone that will, because that's God's will for you, right? Peace is kind of what it's all about. Anyway, do you have anything to add about that, Abby? I went talking on.
No, no, it was all good. It was all good.
Yeah, Madison says, I think the subconscious is even better access while we fall asleep. I love when this happens. I think it's
So
people,
true.
yeah, people don't realize how powerful it is when you set up work to do while you're sleeping. It's extremely powerful. One of these days we should have a class on it. Anyway, but yeah, speaking of classes, we've got an event coming up in Virginia in June and in Sedona in May. And the Sedona class is going to be really about clearing obstacles in a big way and getting uh, some healing from the powerful vortexes in Sedona. And we'll link those in the comment sections on this video if you want to find out more about the classes. And the Virginia class is in June, and that's going to be in Arlington. So,
So I'm also seeing from someone, do you ever work specifically healing from narcissistic abuse? So I just want to mention here, even I tend to work more with medical things. I'm a medical intuitive, but I really, really recommend Jim. If anybody wants to do one-on-one work, do sessions. He's you've already heard him with his meditations and his insights, but he's tremendously helpful working one-on-one with people. So if you have suffered from some kind of abuse or you're dealing with a narcissist, Jim's insights and his way of working with you is tremendously clearing and tremendously healing. It's a combination of sort of talking through it and bringing all his spiritual gifts and teaching you the spiritual gifts. So again, you can contact Jim through the website, which is www.infinitelight.me. But I personally have the benefit of a lot of healing from Jim, and I really recommend it.
yeah, with narcissists, it's about not engaging in their frequency. And so the key is to clear anything that brings up in you to where you feel like you need to defend against it or that you're afraid of it. And that's the sessions, is clearing all of that stuff out. And as that gets cleared, you'll naturally be able to speak your truth and choose to be kind to yourself, right? And that's it. I know a lot about that type of work, right? But it's really about clearing what it brings up in you and you know healing on the spiritual and mental and physical level with it. And as that happens, it'll just naturally dissolve, okay? Or it will transform. Like I used to study hypnosis with this guy, and he was healing cancer with hypnosis. His name was Dave Dobson. And he was profound. I was in my 20s. And, you know, one question that was asked of him one time was, does like attract like, or do opposites attract? And I remember he didn't really answer the question too well. And so I contemplated it for like, every time it came up, I contemplated it. I finally, my guides they said, no, it's always like attracts like. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, well, let's say someone doesn't know how to set boundaries. Okay. They'll attract someone that doesn't respect boundaries. And they'll be afraid and they'll feel, this is very painful, because it is, until they learn how to set boundaries, until they overcome their fear. And as they do that, they're going to force the other person or make the other person respect boundaries, or the other person's going to have to go and try to learn the lesson again. But both those lessons come together because they're complementary to each other, right? It's like if I work with people that are on drugs or suicidal, with suicidal people, it's always that they can't bear to face what they're feeling or what they perceive they're going to experience. Okay. And all we have to do is clear the energy around that and the fear around it and the beliefs around it. Because a lot of times, like, we're told over and over again that you're unworthy and unlovable and everything like that. And when we believe it, when someone rejects us, we punish ourselves for it because we automatically take it as truth. And that takes time to clear that out of you. And as it clears it out of you, as you clear it out of you, when people start to tell you you're not good enough or anything, you'll automatically recognize that it's not truth, right? You'll also learn the truth about rejection. You'll learn that there's nothing wrong with rejection, right? It's just some people are a match and some people aren't, but it's not that you did something wrong or that you weren't good enough, right? And that's the pain of being rejected, is when you believe that. But as that gets cleared, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, that person, there's nothing for me to do with them. I'm going to go find someone where it's a meaningful person to be with, to where it really enhances my life, right? And there's plenty of that, right? But it comes from the healing. You get the realization after the healing. Does that make sense?
So I want to mention Dana is saying, could you provide this meditation in text form? I didn't catch all the words. So I wanted to mention that on our website, www.infinitelight.me, Jim has all his prayers and his meditations in written form. And if you contact him directly through the website or directly through his email, which you want to say your email, he will also send you other meditations and prayers. So
Yeah.
take it away, Jim.
All right. Well, I do prayers that help people heal and clear stuff. And all it is really communicating with the divine and giving permissions, but it works. And I think we have a sessions page on our website. At the bottom of that, you can download these prayers for free. Okay. But if you want specific prayers for yourself, just email me. And you can email info@infinitelight.com, or you can,
Infinitelight.me.
.me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Or I'll put it in the message thing to the video too. But you can also email onejimMcCarthy@gmail.com. And I'll write custom prayers for people, and like a lot of people, like I was dealing with someone in that had a lot of fear, and every time he had fear, I just had him say this prayer to take the fear and increase faith. And it's been a few months, and it's like he's a different person, right? It works, but you got to use it. It's really profound. Why did you go off, Abby?
Well, somebody wanted me to write the website on the chat, and I did. Um, I
Okay,
did earlier. It's at the top, but I'm just going to put it now at the bottom.
okay. Yeah, if
And
anybody
also,
say anything too, you can just raise your Zoom hand and we'll put you in and unmute you and you can talk instead of through the chat.
someone mentioned we should write a book, and I just wanted to mention that Jim has started writing a book.
Yeah, yeah. But
And I think that's a fantastic idea.
yeah. One thing I did in my life was I put myself through a lot of different healing and transformational stuff. And my one of my teachers told me one time, you're going to put yourself through a lot of suffering so you can teach other people how to go through stuff without that much suffering later. And
Did they really say that?
yeah, basically. Yeah. And
That's
yeah,
great. It was true too.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Yeah. But I mean, part of the reason why I suffered so much was because I was stubborn and I didn't understand what to do when I was being attacked, or, I didn't have discernment on when to leave something alone and when not to, right? So over time, you just learn through experience. And, when I work with people, I see things, you know, they show me what's going on with someone, but they also show me a lot of times what the mental patterns are that's creating it. And without even involving them, you can clear it. You don't have to involve them a lot. You can involve them, just by getting permission, right? But it clears. And what I notice is like a lot of the things that I work with people are like emotional charges, and because I feel things in my body when I work with people. So I'll feel what they're experiencing and then I'll clear it in myself and it clears in them. Okay. It's like it's a gift I have. Okay. But it's really accurate. If I feel something in my body, I know what it is, and then I can sit with it and I can sometimes see their past experiences that it was created from. Okay. And then all I do is I bring it all to the light, and I'm just kind of a conduit and let the light clear it. And I ask them how they feel. And they're like, I feel like I let go of a bunch of stuff. Right. But that's really all it's about. I mean, if you imagine that you're like this container of consciousness, and as the light spiritually clears you, your consciousness changes. And as your consciousness changes, your thoughts naturally change and your perceptions naturally change, and you become more. It used to be hard work for me to be in peace, and now it's hard work for me to be out of peace. Right. So, it works, but I went through it for enough years to know that it worked. My dad was an engineer, so I was really like, a skeptic, I should say, but it's cool.
So I'd just like to mention that apparently hi Beverly, just tried to go to our infinitelight.me site and get the prayers, and a message came back that said it failed because of a server error. So sorry about that, guys. We'll fix it tomorrow. But for the meantime, just email Jim directly. And I did put Jim's email on the chat. It's #1 jimmccarthy@gmail.com. So for the present, just go right to Jim, and we'll fix that tomorrow. Sorry about that, guys. And we
Yeah.
also are having all the information about our next two retreats up on the site. And our next Zoom class will be March 9th. So we'll be letting everybody know about that.
Yeah. Try it again because I just went on my phone and it worked. It's it's www.infinitelight.me. And I mean, it worked. So I don't know if if it only works for me, because I've been on it. I was on it yesterday, trying to put the Virginia event on there.
We'll
But
try it again tomorrow, Beverly. So thanks for pointing it out.
yeah, all right. So when's the class next month, Abby?
It's March 9th. It's a Sunday, March 9th. And so if you're on our email list, we'll send you out the topic. And of course, if you're here from Meetup or Eventbrite, you'll get the topic on those sites. But thank you so much for joining us. And it was a wonderful class. It was so
Yep.
great to connect with everybody.
Just checking. Tried again, got the same response. Whoops. Okay, I'll check that. I put my name and address in for the prayers. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Beverly. Thanks for telling us.
Yeah,
Really appreciate
we'll
it.
fix it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And remember, everybody, if you can always look at this class again, they're free if you want to go through the meditation again. And all our past classes are free too. They're all up on our YouTube channel. You can get to our YouTube channel by putting in Infinite Light LLC or my name, Abby O'Neill, and all the free classes will come up and you can, help yourself to all the meditations. So thank you, everybody, so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you next time.